Welcome into the crypto bunker. I don't know if you guys have noticed, you probably have. We have a bloodbath on our hands in crypto. And I just wanted to cover it because, I'm hoping that you guys kind of avoided this so we can cover it openly. For the most part, at least I would say, I hope you guys avoided it because, largely I've been um, out of crypto for the most part. And obviously, like my last video said, Bitcoin fire sale, sort of clickbaity. Obviously wasn't saying to buy anything. Um, and I've been saying for months and months and months that to get out essentially of any large positions and to look for the next dip, and this is the next dip. This is that dip. Not necessarily to buy right now. But eventually. And you know what? Honestly, I've kind of shifted my tune in the past couple weeks. As you guys know, I talked about it in my Bitcoin video, but I've sort of shifted over more towards the Bitcoin side. And essentially, I'm looking at crypto as a tool, not necessarily an investment. And it's unfortunate that I wasn't able to get my funds out of Kraken in time. Um, and I still have a couple NFTs. Like I said, I have my staked ETH in Kraken that's just locked away, and essentially just probably just keep it, just keep it. And I've also talked about buying gold and silver. Um, you know, I think that that's still a good, you know, um, position to have for me. Not necessarily for you. Obviously, none of what I say is financial advice, but Um, I think that they're going to try eventually to move us into a central bank digital currency system. And I do believe that this system will eventually lead to the mark of the beast, which will be um, something where you're essentially forced to use, you're essentially forced to use a CBDC, potentially connecting you with AI or with augmented reality. It'll come slowly, but then all at once. So it'll be like a CBDC, um, and then it will be, augmented reality where you have, maybe prices of things that show up in your glasses or something, just different little things. Um, and then eventually you'll have to have a chip that has your whole wealth, in your wrist or hand or something like that. That is basically you have to use to pay. And obviously that sounds crazy now, but the way that they're going to do it is they'll basically have a financial collapse, which is underway now. And then because everyone's broke, they will usher it in as a solution to this problem. Either that or a cyber attack from Russia or something like that, that sort of bails out everybody, right? Because they need a bailout, but they also need an excuse. Well, they need an excuse. Yeah, they need an excuse to because they've completely corrupted the entire system at this point. It's beyond even explanation. I mean, I um I think they're just derivatives and leverage to the teeth in every sense of that. And um when that comes crashing down, it's the only way to basically avoid them taking the blame, which was already going to happen anyway, by the way. This is already going to happen regardless of what the excuse is. And so they do need that excuse. And so I do think it's possible that they say there's a cyber attack. Um, Everything sells off, and then we are left with what do we do on the other side? Do we have a central bank digital currency that's built on top of Ethereum, like USDC? I think that's still possible because I think that the only way they're going to be able to convince people is that's one of the ways they can do it is say, oh, Ethereum's decentralized. And so we're going to use USDC because that's like part of Ethereum or something. But at the same time, what's happening today is really not good for the future of crypto because it gives them an excuse. Um, and we can get into what happened. Obviously, I haven't even explained what happened yet, which I apologize for. But um, this kind of gives them an excuse now, the regulators, to completely just annex the entire industry. They've already basically said everything's a security. I sort of agree. Polkadot was recently announced not a security. They've worked with the SEC for 5 years now to not be a security, so they are known as software. So I think Polkadot is still safe long term, potentially. I think Ethereum, they want to make a security. Bitcoin's a commodity. So Bitcoin is safe. And essentially, Bitcoin is just going to let you get off of the CBDC system, which is where I was going, is that you're going to need to have ways to trade and barter. And I know it sounds crazy, but if you don't want to be part of the beast system that they want to bring in, which I don't, you know, we'll have to grow your own food. You'll probably have energy dependence issues. You'll have, internet access cut off. You'll have, a whole host of issues. And so you need to decentralize and work with your community to get to this point. I'm not saying this is going to happen tomorrow. It could be years away. It could be, I don't know. It could be months away before like a catalyst happens for it. And then they kind of just slowly bring it in over time. There'll probably be food shortages, and then that's how we'll get to eating the bugs and what they want, eating you'll eat the bugs, you'll own nothing and be happy. Well, the reason that that's going to happen is because everything's going to collapse. And basically the only thing you'll own is digital token that they give you every month, that you have to spend at a certain time. And so, yeah, I mean, I've been preparing for this for multiple years now. Obviously, I've talked about it in here and there. We'll probably talk about it more on here. So if you guys like me talking about this type of stuff, I mean, it's not negative in my opinion. It's just this is what you have to do as someone who believes in Jesus Christ and believes in God, that you're going to eventually be put to the ultimate test. Um, some people say the vaccine was one of the tests. I don't. I think it was just like the preview to see if people would comply, and yeah, what's coming could be a lot worse. But if we prepare and we work together, everything is just so great. The world is full of abundance, and so we can definitely do that together as people. So I do want to highlight that positive part of this as well. But basically, what has happened today is FTX, the second biggest exchange in probably the third biggest exchange, maybe, but has basically gone insolvent. This is a Lehman Brothers type moment. This is bigger than Celsius. This is bigger than anything that's happened in crypto ever. Basically, I think it's a bigger deal than Mount Gox. And so FTX actually is bankrupt. Sam Bankman-Fried has gone bankrupt. He personally still owes over $650 million to lenders. There's something seriously amiss at FTX. We assume FTX operated at a similar scale to Coinbase. There's a lot more customer assets missing than we think. Combined with the on-chain forensics done, this person's guess is 10 to 20 billion dollars of customer money is missing. These include people like Tom Brady. These include people like probably BlackRock. There's many people involved in the FTX round that are in traditional markets as well. So this could bleed over, and it's starting to, I think, to bleed over to traditional markets, which I do think are going to crash eventually anyway. And I actually think that it's possible that SBF was working with regulators to have this happen. I literally think this is a conspiracy. I do think there's no way, in my opinion, that SBF was working this closely with Washington, D.C. and regulators this entire time. He's the face of the industry. He's gone to all the congressional hearings. He's been the person that talks to Congress and tries to put it in terms that they understand. He's talking about the transparency of the industry, and then he is the one out here being insolvent. and all of a sudden just not having the money. Um, I just think this is very shady. He was the golden child of crypto. They called him the Warren Buffett, the next Warren Buffett. They called him JP Morgan. Um, and I just can't help that he's been an agent this whole time, and basically regulators will now have this as an excuse to kill the entire industry. The only survivors will probably be Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a select few altcoins, probably Polkadot, maybe Matic. Again, none of this is financial advice. I wouldn't be speculating at the moment in any of these coins. And I'm honestly just accumulating Bitcoin now slowly. And it's pretty depressing to know that there's like no, moon coming really. Like it's not happening. It's over, and we need to accept that. And we need to say, okay, this could be a multiple year bear market. It could, I mean, in 2000, um, we had, um, yeah, in 2000, we had Microsoft go sideways for 13 years. So think about that. I mean, that's a possibility. Um, Obviously, it's tough to say that like if you had to sell or not right now that you would. I would just consult your financial advisor or someone that knows what's going on. But I mean, these can turn bad pretty quickly, and it has turned bad, and we're at the lows here of $15,942 for Bitcoin and $1,119 for Ethereum. And it looks like we are going to put in that lower low that I've expected. I've had the target put out there for a while. I've tried to warn people. Again, I've talked about this for a long time now, but I do think that we get down to around $400 Ethereum and Bitcoin. I think around 12K, probably 11.9 is where we're going to catch support. And that's right around this 150-month moving average as well. So we're basically headed there right now. Wouldn't be surprised if we get there within the next couple of days, or weeks, I guess. And that's where I think we'll catch a bounce. But I mean, this is really bad for the industry. Can't really um, emphasize that enough. Um, the reason I say that as well is just that, SBF, like I never really liked him as a person. I always thought he was kind of shady. People talked about how he was like this kingpin who would just like liquidate people because they could see all of the data on FTX. So he's kind of a bad guy. Like they could see all of this data that people were longing or shorting the market on FTX, and then they would just go and like um liquidate people based on that. So that's definitely not good. But I always thought he was the one like holding up the market, sort of like this secret like back doorway that he had, had this unlimited money, and that he was pumping and saving the market from dropping, and sort of like he was like the market maker, like he was the market maker. But it turns out that he like kind of wasn't, and a lot of his money was just in FTT and like collateral from that he uses to borrow money that to then like buy other exchanges and companies and different things like that. I felt like many I feel like many felt the same, and now are just selling everything. And that's kind of what, I think a lot of people thought of Sam as like this like um again, this like kingpin of crypto. And um again, I mean, I think that we kind of lost the plot on what crypto is all about. Crypto is really all about avoiding central bank digital currencies. I mean, that's really what it was originally, made to do. And I mean, maybe not totally originally, but that's one of the main staples of what Bitcoin is all about. And that's why it needs to stay proof of work. And that's why they're saying Ethereum going to proof of stake is very centralized. And I sort of am starting to agree. I mean, I think that Ethereum was sort of a bet on the whole space. And that's why Ethereum is down more today, I think, than Bitcoin is just, and I think will continue. I think Bitcoin will outperform Ethereum from here for sure. Um, and I think that that's because Bitcoin has like a concrete purpose, and basically um, to avoid being monetarily debased of your wealth, to make sure that you know exactly what you're investing in, regardless of price. It's all about how many Bitcoin you have, and you know that that's a percentage of the total supply at all times. And that's why the government hates it, because they can't print any of it, and they can't change it, and they can't confiscate it, and they can't really stop you from sending it, and they can't really stop anything. They can regulate it and try to regulate it away, which I think they potentially will do in the future. But the entire time, the game is really about taking control out of the hands of centralized institutions, decentralizing your wealth. And a lot of people just mistook it for a casino. They had their money on centralized exchanges. They thought it was just unicorns and rainbows, but honestly, nothing has changed in terms of what the core thesis of crypto really was, and that was to, um, avoid against central bank digital currencies. Um, and so, again, this is pretty crazy. I did just want to cover it because it's just, I mean, we probably will close, lowest monthly low. We're already lower in Bitcoin, and we're just getting closer and closer to this 12. I guess it's at 12.9. So I mean that's something, but to think about. Um, so yeah, I mean, I guess that's pretty much all I have to say for now. Hopefully you guys got something out of the video. Again, I guess I can quickly cover like what I think about gold and silver, because they are sort of breaking out on a weekly time frame. Um, what we would want to see, this is a W formation. Okay, so this is a really good trading scenario. And essentially, if we close above that middle, this middle region here, shout out to Random Task on Twitter for teaching me this one. But if we close above that, that's the bull signal. And then we'll probably make it up to 1800 pretty quickly. If we can close this week above 1680-ish, which was like the old base as well. And if we close above the 200-week moving average, obviously that's kind of that same thesis as well. And then with silver, this is just, I mean, I think we bottomed. Again, none of this financial advice. I'm not telling you what to do, but I mean, you could just say that this whole thing was a wedge, really. If you look all the way back, um, I do think we're gonna head to crazy levels. And personally, I'm 100% of my um retirement account is in gold miners, gold bullion, and it's this fund that basically has gold bullion, gold miners, and some silver, and some silver miners in there too, like Wheaton Precious Metals and Mag Silver, I think, or something. So I'm invested in metals pretty heavily. And I think that we have bottomed. I've been accumulating through that range. Uh and yeah, I mean, I think that essentially what's going to happen is the economy is going to be so bad that they're going to have to cut rates. And when they do that, the stock market will crash. Okay, I'm looking at 3,200 range for the stocks. And when that happens and rates tank, gold and silver will fly, because they are based on rates, and they're also being taken off the shelves in physical fashion like you've never seen before. There's like no inventory left on the COMEX. It's crazy. It's like the most I think ever. In the LBMA is completely drained in London. So there's no physical metal available. India has bought up all the silver. It's just it's crazy, really. And it's, if some big players come in all of a sudden and try to get physical, it's gonna get crazy. So if you don't have any physical metal, just remember that I said that. And yeah, so that's how I think it's going to play out. And when rates go down, remember, stocks will go down, especially in a crash scenario, because the economy is so bad that they have to cut rates, and they're admitting how bad the economy is. That's usually when bonds will have a rally as well, with gold and silver, maybe, and definitely gold and silver. But we can look at rates as well, which are just crazy. I mean, maybe we've topped. Maybe that was the blow off at the 2-year yield at 5%, that crazy day that it just flew up. Maybe, and that's kind of, I mean, the market is essentially saying, gosh, the Fed is so nuts. How can they possibly, like, they just don't believe it. They're just like, this economy is in such bad shape and is going to slow down so much that the Fed is on a death mission, and there's no way that they can continue to do this. And at the same time, I mean, we have an oil sort of crashing as well on this economy, and we also have the dollar sort of getting support right there, where right on the trend line, right on the 20-week moving average. So what do? You long the dollar off of this moving average. You long the dollar, and you know, if you're a trader or whatever, or managing accounts, you would long the dollar, and maybe there's one last blow off, maybe double top. Actually, that's what I'm predicting. I think it's going to be a double top. Um, and we'll see something like this. What did I say? It's going to go down and then it's going to come back up, double top at 113, and then bam, crash to the ground. Not maybe that quickly, but yeah, not that quickly at all, really. But anyway, that's kind of what I'm thinking. But yeah, it's going to go up and then it's going to come down here. It's going to hit this trend line. Well, it's not even a trend line. I had to move that down. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's going to be something like that. And then that's a huge head and shoulders, and then we dump to the ground. Just, you know, potentially. There's a lot happening geopolitically that can kind of make this happen, especially Saudi Arabia leaving and going to the BRICS nations, and maybe a new digital currency that's based on gold and oil, and our digital currency, which is based on like nothing. And so that's kind of when it gets nuts. And you want to have gold and silver for sure. So hopefully you guys got something out of the video. If you did, please like, subscribe, and have a great rest of your day.